Okay, so we've got a screen that's been damaged. Looks like raccoon damage, trying to get in because it wanted to get where it needed to be. So you got to get the screen. Here's the tools you're going to need. Now this is a screening tool. It's very handy. You don't need it, but it is very handy. There's two different ends to this. One end has a beveled end to it, and I'm going to explain that here shortly. The other end has basically a push. Now, without that tool, you can use a small screwdriver, but it's tough because the screwdriver will cut into the screening as you're replacing it, and you'll see why here in a second. But a plain screwdriver is the very easy thing to use, but you will need it in addition to this because you do have to do some corner work, and you're going to need a small plain screwdriver. Now here I have a utility knife, both two different kinds, but you can use either one. Utility knife is fine. I've got a razor knife here too. And of course you're going to need screening. And screening comes in rolls, all different sizes. You want to get the size that's going to fit best to your window frame. So I simply got a 48 inch and I knew it would fit. It's going to match the length, if you see, length of it. And we're going to replace that. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take and find the corner where your beading meets. And the beading is what holds the screen in place. You can see this is turning a corner here as well. We're going to spin this around until we find, here you go. This end here is where you're going to begin your process, and that's where your screwdriver comes in handy because you're literally going to prop out this beading right here. Now sometimes your beading will get dry rotted and you'll have to get more, but there's no reason why you can't use this again and again and again. Now these screens are 20 years old, so I don't think they've been changed in 20 years. So we're going to pull this up all the way around. What that will do is it will release this old screen, and we're going to take that old screen out. So that old screen is going to come completely out of there. Remember, when you have cross members like this, and sometimes you have little tiny connectors down there for the windowsill, make sure you get those back in square, because if you put them in crooked, you got to redo the whole screen again. So we're going to go through and we're going to pull this all the way out, all the way around the screen. And it's very simple to do without bending the frame. You simply pull up on it. Don't pull too tight because you don't want to stretch it too much. You're going to get to the corners and it's just going to keep going around the corners. Keep going a little bit closer to it so you're not pulling it too tight. And you can see that if you pull it too tight, there's a couple places that might snag. It could tear. If it tears, get a new one. I mean, you can piece these together. Keep in mind, like I said, there's a connector there, and that's pressure inside here. So you want to make sure that you keep this level when you're putting the new screen in. You'll see here in a second. But as we pull this out, I'm going to show you all the way around. There's the damaged screen. And we're going to pull this all the way around. We're going to start this again. It doesn't matter what corner you started in. I always suggest an upper corner. And you can see the difference of the uppers. This is where the hook is that holds it into the window frame. So now we have the full piece. If you look here, that rubber bushing is all the piece that we will need. And what I'm going to do is show you now how simple this is. After sitting in here, you just push up on that screen. Look at that. See it? The screen comes up out of that trough. It's going to sound like it's ripping, but it doesn't matter because you're going to put new ones in. The difference is when you get to pieces like this, make sure you don't move this around too much. And you're going to take them all the way out. You try not to pull up too hard on the frame at any point in time because you don't want to bend the frame. But when you get to these little clips down here, see, these clips are made to hold it from the inside. When you pull that up, you'll see right here, it just lays in there. So you kind of want to have that in. You'll come back and position those as you're putting the screen in too. But here we go. I'm going to come around here, and then we have the old screen. Discard the old screen, throw it away. It's not worth anything, not good for anything. People say, yeah, use it for this, use it for that. No, throw it away. It's not good, not good. It has no good. Now you've got a blank frame and you've got your screen, and what you're going to do is have lots of overlap. You do not want to cut this anything short anywhere. So if you look at this, I'm going to have good overlap. I'll stand back here and show you. So you see that right there? That overlap, you'll need every bit of it, because if you get anything out of square, you got to start all over again. Doesn't hurt. Waste a couple of inches. You don't have to run it directly to the side. You need the area so that when you push the screening bead down inside this trough, it will pull the screen tight all the way around. So you don't want to pull extra over here. So if you cut real close thinking you're going to save some, it's not worth it. So there you go. We're going to get started on this and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so here's our upper corner. Like I talked about, there's the notch. What we're going to do is we're going to start by taking this in here. Now, the cool part is this, if you look really close, you'll see that the direction of the screen. You try to keep that close and keep the pressure on the outside as you're putting that screen in, because it's going to pull that in. And when it pulls it in, it has a tendency to want to pull a wrinkle, if you see that right there. So this first side, you're probably going to come back and readjust this when we get all the way around this whole thing and back to here. But we literally want to start someplace, give yourself some room. And if you see, I got plenty of extra here. I'm going to start this and try to keep this screen grid square. So if I kind of square that up, I should be on a route to getting this whole thing. So we're going to go in and we're actually going to take this tool here, which that's the push tool. Here's the trough tool. If you see, the edge of that has like a bevel to it. We're going to place that on this here and we're going to push it in every once in a while. We're not going to put everything down in there tight yet. We're just going to start getting this marked in position so that we can adjust it when we come back through. So I'm going to go through and do this and I'll get back here in just a second. Another important note too, if you look at this, if you turn the angle of this thing, and if you're going this way, you have the tendency to, your teeth may cut into the screen, this is the open part of the screen. You don't want to do that, so you kind of want to push with your angle coming back this way. So when you're pushing this in here, you're pushing it down, and try to keep your wheel, see how it pushes it in there? Pushing towards the outside frame, and that way you're not pushing and cutting on the actual screen itself. You're pushing it into the corner, and that way it's pulling it from the outside over here instead of the inside. It might cut it. Another thing to remember is when you get done with this first row, we started right here and we've laid this in here. As you're doing this, you're going to have loose wrinkles here, so you'll have the tendency to want to pull it tight here. You're going to pull it tight when you get over to this last piece here. So kind of allow yourself to push the screen back in here to give it some flexibility so you can pull it tight, because otherwise you're going to find yourself pulling tight and it's going to be very crooked at the top up there. So let's just kind of keep that in mind as we round this corner and get this bottom. It's going to be a little loose and you're going to see some extra material in there. Just let it be in there, because we're going to straighten it up when we get all the way up there, and we're going to pull it nice and tight, and then we'll readjust that last one. Okay, so we've got the screen all tucked in. We've run our wheel around and tucked in everything, and I was going to show you this too, is don't mind if this screen doubles up when you're rolling this, because it actually protects the screen. And if you're coming straight down on it and you just roll that baby around, you're not going to hurt anything. Just don't get your blade going into this. Let it come this way. So you can hold it straight up and down and let the screen double up there so that you're kind of got a pad on it, and then you can roll it there and it's pushing that thing down inside there. Now here's the biggest, the easiest part of this, how to cut this. When you get to the end of you've got all the screen tucked in, you got it all tucked in all the way around, and you get to this thing and you're wondering where to cut. Start with a cut here and then come out at an angle, and then you're going to have a great way to cut this, and I'll show you here in just a second. See if we can get this cut going here. Lift up the screen, put your blade down inside the corner, right to the corner, and cut away from the screen. And then what you have is you have a great piece to start from, because you're going to put the blade in here. You're going to lay the blade flat on the screen, and then you're going to start cutting like this all the way around the screen. And that way, I don't know if you can see that or not. So See if you can see how that blade is laying underneath the screen right here. You're going to lift this, pull on it, and cut all the way along here so you can just kind of slice it and not hit any of this, and you're not going to scar up the frame of your screen. And there you have it. You got a fully new re-screened screen to position into your window and to make life great again for you. So that's how to re-screen, and hopefully that helped you, because I know it was confusing to me. But as I started to do this, now it's just clean up and reposition on the window. Many screens come off in different ways. You have to look really close here, and I don't know if you can see this because of all the sunlight on it, but there is a tiny, tiny nail up in there, and if you'll see the screen trough has a notch. To fit that notch into that screen hole there, you literally have to pull the screen straight out, and it will slide up into there. And once it slides up into there, it's going to be able to hang itself. So it actually has a, hold on a second. It has a screen mechanism there. And this is one type of screen hanger, but there's not. Then you'll see these clips that are down on here. These clips on the inside, so that when you go inside, you actually can clip that to a windowsill inside there. So just so you know, that's how those clip in there. Keeps everything up. But there's the window, and now it's got a new screen on it, and we don't have to worry too much about bugs getting in.